Shalom Chaverim. Whew. We're under a heat dome here in the nation's capital, and needless to say, it's not as hot today. In fact, today was 10 degrees cooler than yesterday. Yesterday it hit 101, 102, 104. Today it only hit 94. Still very, very hot. And I have sympathy, empathy. People without air conditioning, without fans, putting up with this heat dome that we're under. Not pleasant at all. Not pleasant at all. And there are those that want to point out that it has to do with climate change and etc. All indications are our climate is warming and undergoing a change. And the jury is still out on whether it was man-made, man-enhanced, man-helped, or was part of the national cycle. However, we just want to be careful not to let it bleed into our politics, not make decisions based on something political. And until we get the information in, until we see the trends, it's quite possible that the Earth is undergoing a period of becoming warmer that's consistent with thousands of years of climate. However, that's not my topic this evening. I'm going to postpone again Step 9, Knowledge and Intellectual Exchange, Making America Good Again, Step 9. Let's put that off another week. Lots of events happened in this past week. And I do want to address our response. How do we handle the events that we really have no control over? And many of us would like to believe that by assassinating a young couple, that it's going to create the state of Palestine. It's a mistake. Many people believe that by throwing bombs, it's going to change. Many people believe that assassinations and rioting and attacking politicians and killing our political leaders are going to affect change. And I would like to point out, none of these events have changed what's going on around us. We're just average Americans. We just want to live, go to work, go out with our friends, have a good time. There's lots of things we would like to do. The same is true of people living in Gaza. The same is true of people living in Ukraine, in Russia, in China, in North Korea. We want to live. Now, let me start as I start every week, because I'm getting requests to invite people in. No one, as of yet, has taken me up on my offer to co-host. Not a single one of you. You say you want to join, you say you want to say something, and I'm agreeing. I want you to co-host with me. RabbiBlock@hotmail.com. We'll meet in my Zoom room. We'll pick our topic. We'll decide how we're going to talk with each other, how we're going to present. No topic is off limits. I want to talk. I want to hear. I want to listen. And not necessarily debate. I don't want to convince anybody of anything. Yet, so far, not a single person has taken me up on my offer to co-host. And what that says to me is you're really not serious about getting your opinions across. You're not really serious about presenting something. Well, that's your choice, and we are our choices, aren't we? Our choices actually define us. Explains the Kaaba? Are we talking about The shrine, which is over the rock, I don't know if you say Kabbalah or the Kaaba, which in Islam, the Muhammad ascended to heaven on a winged horse that touched earth on the stone where Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac. That's a stone. And it becomes a holy shrine, a place where people want to make a pilgrimage at least once in their lifetime. Not Kaaba. Are you talking about Kabbalah, which is the word for Jewish mysticism? Coca-Cola. Unfortunately, I've gotten back on a Coca-Cola binge. Not for a while. I was drinking caffeine-free and diet and that, and I broke down and bought some real Coke. Not Mexican Coke, just good old American Coke. Okay, Kabbalah. The word Kabbalah means the received tradition. That's what literally the word means. It has come to mean Jewish mysticism. Oh, I love Diet Dr. Pepper. Someone just said that. I really do love Diet Dr. Pepper. Better than regular Dr. Pepper. God bless the doctor. Who was the doctor? Never mind. That's not important. So the Kabbalah, the received tradition, the word itself is reserved for the Jewish mystic tradition. There is no such thing as Kabbalah. Now, you can buy a book, you can go to Amazon, and they say all kinds of things. This is Kabbalah, that's Kabbalah. But understand that the word Kabbalah refers to the totality of Jewish mysticism. Not a single book, not a single work. However, because people aren't aware of that, there are individuals that write a book called Jewish Kabbalah or Understanding Kabbalah, and they talk about it as if it's a one unified thing. It is not. Let me say it again. This is very important. Kabbalah, the received tradition, just refers to all of Jewish mysticism, ranging from Isaac Luria to the Sacred Chariot, the Merkabah, I just lost the word in Hebrew, the Sacred Chariot, and other works. I'm looking up at my books because one of the few books I saved was one of our books on Jewish mysticism, of which I saved several. So I hope that answers your question. And in general, the teaching of Kabbalah is reserved for when we get older and when we understand Judaism and the 613 mitzvot. Because Kabbalah is grounded in Judaism, it's very difficult to pick it up in the middle. And I would make this an offer to those of you who asked the question. Send me an email, and I would be glad to set up a time that we can meet in my Zoom room, and we'll talk about Kabbalah. I can not so much teach you because it's huge, but I can teach you about Jewish mysticism. And I'm waiting for the Messiah, even though he may tarry. And remember, the word Mashiach in Hebrew, Messiah, means a messenger. That's all. And any one of you out there, according to Judaism, can be a messenger, not the Messiah, because the job of the Messiah is to announce the coming of God's kingdom on earth, when war will cease and disappear, and there'll be heaven on earth. Well, that hasn't happened yet. As you know, I believe in a free and independent Israel, a free and independent Palestine, each recognizing the right of the other to exist, and neither one existing to destroy the other. That's what it means. Okay, and it's not in the cards right now. Doesn't seem to be. So please, if you're interested in Jewish mysticism, get in touch and we can set up a time. And parenthetically, I do read tarot cards, which, by the way, come out of Jewish mysticism. And if you happen to have a tarot deck, you'll notice many of the cards have Hebrew letters. Not an accident. Because what evolved into either the Waite deck or another tarot deck began with Jewish mysticism. The goal, I don't eat tarot, so the rules of kosher don't apply. And by the way, we're not forbidden to practice white magic. In Judaism, tarot is not forbidden. We are only forbidden to practice black magic. And it's also, when we delve into Jewish mysticism, the lessons are to be very careful. That's why we shouldn't begin the mystic quest until we're older. I joke about being 80. In reality, I'm going to be 79 in August. However, somehow in my mind, 80 seems like a nice number. So I'll often say on my podcasts and on YouTube and on TikTok, I'll say that I'm 80 or going to be 80. But just so you know, in August I'll be 79. So yeah, I happen to like the number 80. So someone said, I'd like to learn more about Kabbalah. RabbiBlock@hotmail.com. I'll send you the link to my Zoom channel, my Zoom room, and we'll go back and forth and pick a time. I'm a teacher. The job of a rabbi is to teach and then get out of the way so you can find your path to the one. And that's what Kabbalah and mysticism is about. It's another way to find one's way to the one that, what's white magic? Not harmful. Just a fairly common expression, but if you don't like that, we can say that any magic that is harmful is forbidden. Any magic that helps us unite with the one, that helps us unite with being a better person, that is what Kabbalah and mysticism was about. Now, what is good or bad? Excellent question. And that's our topic this evening. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? With all the turmoil going on, with everything around us, people are jumping to conclusions. The bombing is good, the bombing is bad, this is good, this is bad. We're inundated. So I would like to offer a way to deal with the fact that we're inundated, overwhelmed with judgments about what is. I don't judgments about what is. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Not yet. When we're immersed in something, emotions take over, and we have a tendency to judge something. Oh, that was good, that's terrific, that's wonderful. Then as we look back, we may say, it wasn't. So rather than waiting, what I'd like to offer this evening for all of us is just to suspend judgment. Is something a good thing or a bad thing? I was a freshman at Boston College. I wanted to be a physician. Noble, good. And so I took organic chemistry my freshman year. That's pre-med. I failed. I took organic chemistry a second time. I failed. I took organic chemistry a third time. I failed. BC would not let me take it again. I was devastated. It was horrible. It was bad. It was a bad thing. Oh, I'm never going to be a doctor. I'm not going to... Okay? I went on. I decided to become a rabbi. In the course of my career, I became an associate adjunct professor of medicine at the University of Maryland School of Medicine on the faculty. Not a doctor, a rabbi. I worked for the VA for 40 years in a psychiatric hospital as a behavioral therapist, a chaplain. And the VA trained me as a behavioral therapist. Helping, preventing suicides, working with our veterans. As you know, I went on to publish my own book, How to Be Jewish in 30 Seconds. It's been purchased in Australia, England, New Zealand, and other places. So I've become an international writer, not Dean Koontz or Stephen King. I'm an international author. The fact that I didn't become a doctor was a good thing in terms of my life, my career, and what I did. But at the time, it was terrible and devastating. So I want each of you to think of those moments in your past when you immediately labeled something as bad or terrible or good and wonderful, and you responded this way or you responded that way. And now that as the years have passed, you can look back and now say, that was a good thing, or that was a bad thing. My point isn't something good or bad. No. My point is, at the moment when we're immersed in something, then at that moment, we have a very human element of labeling it good or bad. What I'm asking us to do in order to keep our sanity, in order for us to cope, because every morning I go to my news channels. I have the app for Al Jazeera, the Arab Muslim. I would not spend the day without looking at Al Jazeera. I wouldn't. I also wouldn't spend the day without looking at Fox or CNN or MSNBC or Reuters. Doesn't take long. I can scroll by the headlines, and if there's an article or a editorial I find interesting on Al Jazeera, I read it. I want to be exposed to everything that's going on. Okay? And what I find is I'm getting whipsawed. I know I'm old. Haha. Let's go back to the 80s. A whipsaw. Blah, 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 blah. We get bounced back and forth. This group wants me to see the event as a good thing. This wants me to see the event as a bad thing. And I keep reading these, and I realized the only way to stay focused and centered was to say, I don't know right now. Perhaps in a month, in a week, in a year, it will be a bad thing. And we'll be able to point to Israel and say, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, what did you do? It was a bad thing. We may be able to point to Hamas and say, this is bad. We're not getting a Palestine by the murders, the kidnapping, and the raping. We might be able to look at the UN, and say, your condemnation was a good thing. I'm glad you did that. However, and this is my point this evening, in the heat of the moment, when we're immersed in something, we have to pull back. Because if any of you want to tell me that the bombing of Iran was a good thing, I will refer you to the news and the commentators that tell you it's a bad thing. If any of you out there want to say it was a bad thing, I'll show you where a group is saying it's a good thing. Okay? Therefore, what I'm presenting for my sanity, maybe it'll work for you, I believe it will work for you, is let's reserve judgment on whether something is a good thing or a bad thing until some time has passed. Someone asked me if I'm in Tel Aviv. No, I'm in D.C., the nation's capital. And often we're inundated with views of individuals that have a political agenda or have a personal agenda, and they want to sway us to their side. Now, I'm not saying that the bombing in Iran, I've said it before, Iran is the enemy. Something had to be done to stop them. Now, was this bomb attack a good thing or a bad thing? Will it work? Instead of jumping on the bandwagon and screaming, see, it's worked, it's wonderful, President Trump's the greatest individual since sliced white bread. No. Let's hold off and say, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. Ooh, you saw my slot machine behind me. Someone is very observant. And it's for sale. It's one of those, it's not a, I forgot the Japanese machine where the balls drop. It's not. It is Japanese, and you put the coins in. And so it's for sale. If any of you would like to make me an offer, I'll entertain your offer. Okay? Now, was the strategy well thought out? Was it not thought out? I have a lot of expertise, but one of them is not military strategy. So let me go back to my days at Perry Point when I was working with my substance abuse veterans, and the subject often would come up and we would joke about it. And I would say to my veterans, we're going out on a combat mission. I want to lead it. And I did that intentionally to generate discussion. And everyone would start laughing and going, oh yeah, Rabbi Block, Chaplain Block, you're going to get us all killed. You just offered me $5,000 for my slot machine? Send me an email and we'll talk about it. Someone would say, no, we want Gunny. And I would say, exactly. Not all of us have expertise in everything, but that doesn't mean that we're not competent. That doesn't mean that we don't have expertise in something. It just means that our expertise is not in that area. So why are we offering judgment? Someone just offered me $3. No, we're not going to bid on this. Send me an email, please. Why are we offering our expertise on military strategy? And that generated in the group a discussion of our own competence. If we're going into combat, I want Gunny to lead us. I want Sergeant leading us. And we're going to do whatever he says. After the mission, or while we're under fire, if we're having problems focusing, I'm there as your chaplain. Done. But my expertise is not keeping us alive in a firefight. That's Gunny, Sergeant. Helping us deal with the aftermath, with the events that happened, that's my expertise. Remember, I was chaplain with the Bel Air Volunteer Fire Company for 100 years. And if there's a fire or an automobile accident happening, the first person you want to see are our firefighters, our EMTs. But when you're trapped in your vehicle and we can't get you out, I'm the person you want to see. Because our people can't get you out. And I keep seeing that now, here and everywhere. People are offering their opinions on the bombing, on combat, on Gaza, on Palestine, on Hamas. No, this is not. I mean, you can certainly make them. I don't hate Jesus. I never said I hated Jesus. You know, the title rabbi didn't exist during Jesus' day, But if the title existed, rabbi didn't exist during Jesus' day, but if the title existed, he would have been a rabbi. He was taught by Rabban Gamliel. Jesus was born a Jew and died a Jew. He, a colleague of mine, if you will. Don't hate him. Never said it. And there you go again. That's exactly what I'm talking about. People making statements outside their areas, not just of expertise, but just of knowledge in general. If I was a chaplain, and I would disagree. I'm moving because the stuff's in white and it's now appearing on your beard. Yes, my job as chaplain is to help those in the military deal with what's going on. We're going to leave to our politicians whether it's right, whether it's wrong, and it's more difficult when I've been put and my veterans have been put in a position that they don't agree with the war, the situation, yet we're in it because we have sworn allegiance to the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States, not to the president, not to anyone else, but we've sworn allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. Do I prefer being, someone asked me if I prefer being self-employed or being employed. It depends on the setting. I enjoyed being employed by the federal government, by the VA, as a chaplain for our veterans. Oh, someone wants to know what year I was born in. You do the math. I'm going to be 79 in August. You can figure that one out. Objecting to an unjust war brings us right back to our topic. It's not easy to say if it's a good thing or a bad thing when we're involved in it. When we're involved in a situation, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I'm just asking us to suspend judgment and let's see if we can sort it out afterwards. Many missions that we send our military on, we would question, but we don't question going in because it's our mission. And we're going to look later and see if it was a good thing or a bad thing. A legitimate question about my life. I've visited Israel a few times. I lived in Israel for a year and had the opportunity to become a citizen, and I chose not to. I returned to the United States, and I'm only a citizen of the United States, to answer your person that asked that question. Let's go back to our topic. Is being in the military a good thing or a bad thing? It's not for everyone. Neither are the different services for everyone. Each one has its place. And until the Messiah comes and heaven is created on earth, we will need an army, we will need a military, and the strongest defense or for peace is a strong military. Look at what Russia is doing to Ukraine. The only thing holding Ukraine is its military, because Russia would want to overrun it. Look what Hitler did during the Second World War. Okay? So let's not condemn or attack those who served. It's honorable. And I not only respected, I served. And I was in the VA. I worked with our veterans. Not a question. What I'm asking you to do is not pass judgment on those things that you're not involved in, don't have the background or knowledge in. Just don't judge, that's all. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm saying just don't judge. And let's wait and see as things unfold. Was the bombing a good thing or a bad thing? We don't know yet. Our time is up. Thank you for staying with me and listening. And I would be remiss if I didn't put in a plug for my book, How to Be Jewish in 30 Seconds. Email me. I'll be glad to talk with you.